If we take each zodiac sign and divide it into three, we get three decans within each sign. And today I'm talking about the central decan of Leo, the middle section, if you like. And what we find here is the strength card is used to describe Leo in our Rider-Waite tarot deck. And what we see here is a woman overcoming the enormous ferocity of this lion. What we don't see is brute strength. We're seeing something else, a gentle, persistent patience and an inner terrain that is so fearless that it's expressing itself outwardly. So when we think about this strength card and what it means to you, I often talk about opposing forces within yourself. This is a very masculine sign, a lot of fire energy. And yet we have the maiden here, seeming to bring this into balance. Where can you find this balance within yourself? And the expression of the second decan of Leo is expressed as Jupiter in Leo. And so this fire sign meets with a fiery planet. We're heaping on more fire, more heat, more light. And Jupiter, we can see, has expansion. Look at those wings lifting you aloft. Where can this be you embodying the principles of truth? And we can see that Jupiter can be the wheel of fortune, seemingly tipping you from one situation into another, the rise and fall that we can often see play out in our lives. And yet for me, this wheel of fortune card is inviting you into the center. Where can you become more centered? Where can you reach for higher ideals as we see these creatures here and this person here? Their wings are expanded. They have received wisdom and learning and understanding. And so for me, this card is almost taking us outside of the twists and turns of fate. It's saying if you can meet that center point and reach for loftier goals, then you can somehow steady yourself no matter what's coming through for you. So we see here, as I said, Leo and Jupiter in Leo. And what we see comes through for that, the minor arcana to describe this, is the Six of Wands. And wands are fire. They are raw, passionate, sexual desire. They are creative life force energy. And we see here somebody who is sitting on their horse doing a victory lap. This is a leader. And we see that the benevolence of Jupiter is shining through this card. We see a leader who is leading by example. People are here to cheer them on. Where is this within you? Looking in and doing things not just because you want people to look at you, but because you want to do these things. It's your truth. This is the expansion that Jupiter can offer you. Jupiter, in its shadow expression, can look like the accumulation of wealth and stuff and more things. Where can you consider this in its more positive aspect? Where can Jupiter be about not doing things because you want the likes or you want the subscriptions on a channel, for example? Where can you stop going to check how many people have seen what you've put out there, your content? I'm using this as an example. Where can you create that content? Because somewhere it stirs your heart. And the heart is important here because Leo rules the heart in the body. And we can understand with all this bright light that there is a purification going on. The fire is cleansing us. We have a lot of fire in our heart. And so where can that fire be directed rather than dissipated? And where can we, instead of feeling exhausted by this sheer amount of heat going on here, Where can we use it to fuel our real inner desires, the ones that we listen to in the quiet moments that aren't driven by pride and excess? So I use the overarching theme of Sybil when I described Leo as a whole zodiac sign. And Sybil meets with Attis. She falls in love with Attis. He is the most beautiful, most striking young man. And so here, when I see Jupiter in Leo, it speaks to me of that time where her love is absolutely expansive, but it's taking it to its very edge, almost to the shadow side of Jupiter in Leo. There is so much excess, so much urge, so much sexual desire aroused in this story. And we see that Attis meets with a very devastating fate, and I'll talk about that in the next card, in the next decan. So for now, what I'm seeing is we have love, we have passion, we have desire, but with Jupiter in the mix, this planet of expansion, it's taken to extremes. We've lost a sense of balance and self-control. We've fallen for this raw, ferocious part of ourselves. So the question here then, while we're in this decan for you, is where can you maintain that balance? Where can you step into the quietness at this time? Because Leo is very much the center of attention. A Leo can light up the room. And with this kind of energy, we're really talking about visibility. And so you are being asked, while the sun is taking its journey through this sign, you are asked to step up. Where can you become more visible? Where can you enjoy more freedom of self-expression and creativity? This is all potential. It's just also asking you, where can you find the balance? And we see here that our maiden has an infinity symbol, the figure of 8, above her head. And so that is asking me to talk about the Lionsgate portal, because on the 8th of August every year, we celebrate this time as this opportunity for getting closer to spirit. We feel like there are portals opening where we can step through and the veils are thinning and we can receive more spiritual downloads. We can have more vivid dreams, perhaps instructions at this time. It's also a time with the sun blazing, and we have Jupiter here, the sun, the fire meeting with this, giving us more heat, giving us more light, more potential, more raw energy, more positivity. Where can we use this in its more positive aspect? Where can we use it for perhaps the expansion that we see here in Jupiter to be one of a more spiritual rather than material nature? And what we also have here, I would say, is the divine masculine. If we have the kingship that we see here with Jupiter, this benevolence, this generosity, and this leadership, and we have here strength. And in the Leo sign, we have the star Regulus in the sky. Regulus is the brightest star in Leo. And Regulus means little king. And so again, we have this idea of kingship. And so if we're talking about this kingship now within ourselves, where can you start to take back your power? Where can you take back your sovereignty? And where can you come into more balance with that? So while we're talking about this masculinity and this portal, this figure of 8, the lemniscate, the infinity sign of the 8th of August, our Lionsgate portal, where can you see this as a window of opportunity for having the courage to step up and have more visibility, but not for the sake of people liking it, what you're doing, not for the clicks and the likes that you're going to get from that, but because it's something you know within yourself that you want to fulfill. You're being driven to move in that direction, whether or not people like it. And I think that's the secret here for this time of year, trying to maintain the balance of our hugely expansive, sunny, positive state. So I'd like to now introduce to you the myth of Heracles. And Heracles' first labor was to kill the Nemean lion. And so I'm going to introduce this myth to you now to describe this second decan of Leo, Jupiter in Leo. And what we see in this myth with this lion is that it was absolutely devastating Nemea. It seemed to be absolutely unkillable, this lion. Nobody could slay the lion. And so it was one of the first labors that was given to Heracles to complete. And it was said that the skin of the lion could not be pierced by any weapon. So when Heracles tried to use a sword, it couldn't penetrate its skin. So he went in and what he did was, while it was in a cave, he tracked it down, found it in a cave, and he closed off one of the exits. So there remained only one exit to the cave. And then he went in with his club, and he knew he couldn't harm the animal through its skin. So he trapped it in the cave, and he used his brute strength to strangle and choke the lion to death. And this is what he did. And he had to bring back the skin to the king that had set him this task. And the skin, of course, couldn't be pierced by any weapon. So it wasn't just brute strength that gave him the solution to this problem. He thought about the problem and realized he could use the lion's own claws to skin the animal. So he succeeded in his labor, Heracles, but he became known to wear this skin around him. So what does this mean? And what does this mean for you at this time? Well, he faced a huge fear here. He faced something, he faced his fears, he met it and found a resolution that wasn't necessarily the one he thought it would be. But in doing so, in meeting with that fear, it turned into his greatest protection. So I ask of you in the next 10 days or so of this, as the sun takes its journey through the center part of Leo, I ask you to think about your fears. Can you face them? And can you then see what's within that fear and perhaps look to turn that into your greatest protection? Wear it, feel it, know it fully, and then use it as a strength. So thinking then about the very heart of the lion, the very center point of the wheel of fortune, where can you expand that heart? Think about nobility, think about dignity and kingship, and about a radiant expression of yourself. This is radiant authority being affirmed and expanded. And so finally, just think on optimism, generosity, benevolence, and have a wonderful day.